sed fide supplementur sensum defectui genitori
How's it going, everybody? My name is Christian Wagner, and I'm the Militant Thomist. So today I'm going to be fielding a quick objection. So I'm actually I don't know whether famous is the right word, relatively, I guess, for having a video and then an article against transubstantiation where I set forth the argument, and the argument goes thus. So in transubstantiation, the accidents of bread and wine do not inhere in anything. It doesn't inhere in the air. It doesn't inhere in the body and blood. It doesn't inhere in anything. They're what's said to be absolute or sin subjecto, so without subject. But part of the definition of an accident is that it inheres in a substance, rather than a substance which inheres in nothing else. It's just really self-existent. So therefore, transubstantiation has a metaphysical absurdity. So that's the argument broadly laid out. And it took me a really long time to figure out how this was wrong. So I'm just going to try to distill all of that into, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute video. We'll see how long I go here. So the really, broadly speaking, the error with this type of reasoning is it takes a nominal rather than a real definition of a thing, and then it uses it in order to put forth a real rather than a nominal contradiction. So I'll state that again. So what it does is it takes a nominal definition, so it merely a definition based on appearances, and then it posits a real contradiction rather than a nominal contradiction. So how can I show that this is not that they're not positing a real but rather than a nominal definition? So in order to explain that, we have to think a little bit about how definitions work and how we predicate certain attributes of other things. So an attribute can be predicated of a thing in three different ways. First, it can be something which is essential, or as for our purposes, we'll say really definitional. So something can be really definitional of a certain thing. So with man, it's rationality and animality. Animal is the genus, and then the species is man, because all animal means is a living and sensitive thing. And then what's called the specific difference. So the thing which distinguishes man from other animals is going to be our rationality. And this is going to provide our real distinction, real definition right there. And then second, a certain thing can be flowing from the essence, an attribute or property of the essence. It's something which is essentially connected with it and flows from it in naturally speaking all examples in that species, but is not contained in the definition, because we can think of that thing which doesn't exist in that attribute is not existing in that thing. So that sounds very convoluted, but it'll make sense here. So in man, what's called risibility. So from our rational animality, risibility flows from it. That is the ability to laugh. So our ability to laugh flows from our essence. But we can conceive of a man who doesn't have the ability to laugh. That wouldn't necessarily go against the definition of a man. We can conceive of that happening in extraordinary circumstances, but in ordinary circumstances, without any weird impediments, yeah, it could happen. And then third, something which is accidental to a certain thing, which doesn't posit any sort of issues. It's just it may occur in all of the instances actually, but it also may just occur in a certain group. So let's say somebody's American. That is accidental. Me being American is accidental to me being a human. So the fact that I'm a man, if you remove my Americanness, I would still be a man. And this actually also occurs for things that are predicated of every single instance. The famous example is actually a dwarf. So, if you have it's an accident of every single human who's ever existed that when they are fully grown, they are larger than a duck. Yes, that's the example given is of a duck. But we could technically think of a rational animal smaller than a duck, and we would have no problem labeling that person a person. So back all the way back to now. Let's go all the way back after that a brief analysis between certain things which are essential, certain things which are properties of the essence, and certain things which are accidental. Let's categorize what we're the way which we're going to think about inherence in accidents. The fact that it inheres without a subject or with a subject. So when it comes to inherence, nobody's going to say that it's accidental. Um, we couldn't think of in a naturally occurring example this happening where a accident exists without a subject. That just doesn't happen. And really in a natural mode couldn't happen without there would need to be a certain impediment which would bring it about. So it's either something which is a property of the essence or something which is essential. Um, so what I'm going to posit is that if we kind of look behind the metaphysical curtain and think about the ways in which substances and accidents work, the way in which they relate, we'll see that that inherence isn't anything which is inherence in a substance isn't anything which is essential. Rather, it's something which is in that category of property of an essence. It's like risibility in man, something which flows from, but with some sort of impediment, such as I don't know, a miracle. It wouldn't occur. So if we think about the way in which being works, so we have God who is ipsum esse subsistence, so being subsisting in itself. And then we have created being. And created being is esse ab alio, so being in another. So actually, when we look at everything around us, everything around us actually subsists after a natural mode in God. So there's the order of nature, the order of grace. Grace is a certain participation and subsistence in God, which is after a higher mode, and then after a lesser, a natural mode, we have everything in creation, which is participating in a certain sense in God. So we have this natural, then we have the supernatural mode of subsistence. When it comes to being, it's going to be something which is after that natural mode of subsistence. And in this natural mode of subsistence, we can think about something subsisting or participating in God in two ways. First, we can think about it immediately, and second, we can think about it immediately. So something which immediately does without any other mediation, we can think of that as what we'll call a substance. And then second, immediately or through another, that's going to be what we call an accident. Now, is that distinction between substance and accidents, is that going to be a specific difference, which can be found between the two? Well, no, actually, it isn't going to be a specific difference because in Catholic philosophy, and really of anybody of any sort of Aristotelian pedigree, being is not a genus. Actually, being is analogously, in all of its different aspects, are analogously related to each other. So you're not going to be able to find a specific difference between the two. That would split up being into multiple different species, and then you'll have some genus. That's not how it works. That would be an affront to philosophy. So what you actually have is you have certain things flowing from the essence, which can distinguish them. So when it comes to substance, that thing flowing from the essence is going to be that it subsists in se, so in itself, and then with accidents is through the instrumentality of another thing. But this is going to become important because we have just went through all of that background info about how being works, how being subsists, and everything like that, and how its existence is rooted. We see that when it comes to accidents, it's something which is merely instrumental. So with substances, those are the things used by the first cause, used by God, in order to bring about the subsistence of accidents. This isn't something which is a necessary instrument. It's rather just something which is an ordinary instrument of God's acting. So from this, we can see now that what you have when you have God through the power, through His infinite power, has actions subsist without a subject, rather than Him destroying something essential about an accident. All He is doing is He is switching the instrumentality from something which is mediate to something which is immediate. So I hope that was helpful. I mean, this was actually very heavy philosophically. So if you don't understand it, have any questions, anything like that, maybe I don't know. I don't know how else to do it. I could I guess I could have like a recorded discussion with somebody or something like that too, or a conversation, maybe a Twitter space or a Discord call or something like that, where I could explain it to people. But that is the in as lay terms as I can possibly conceive of. That is how it works. You have to think about the way in which things are defined, the way in which being works, how the various instances of being are related. The fact that being is not a genus is extremely important because you're not going to because the way in which the anti-transubstantiationists are thinking of it, they're thinking of it in terms of a specific difference rather than certain incidental attributes of essences which flow from it, but are not necessarily connected for its survival and can be impeded in its ordinary action. So all of these different things are important to consider. So thank you for watching. I hope that was helpful. I don't know how helpful that actually is going to be, but I can definitely help out if everybody reaches out to me and says that they had no idea what that was saying. Maybe I could write an article explaining everything, but really you guys do, and this is a reminder, pick up Copin's if you go to my website, christianbwagner.com/shop, go under philosophy, pick up his brief textbook on logic and brief textbook on mental philosophy. With those two textbooks, if you read through it, you get your whole course basically in scholastic philosophy. And really, that's what you need to be able to understand a lot of these discussions. And if you're not there yet, that's completely fine. Everybody has a starting point. But I think once you assimilate yourself with a lot of this, if you have no idea what I'm saying, and you read those two books, they're very short, maybe 100 pages each. It won't take long. Maybe it will take a week to read. Then you go back and watch this video. You'll understand pretty well what I'm talking about. But thank you, and that is all. And God bless.